Happy Thursday and welcome back to the Locked On Red Sox podcast. Thank you so much for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen every single day. I'm your host, Massachusetts Pirates team insider Jake Ignazuski, and also be joined by my co-host, NESN writer Lauren Campbell. Now, this is part 2 of our conversation with former Red Sox player Shea Hillenbrand, and in this episode, Shea explains
Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What was that like going from a team like the Red Sox with the atmosphere is always so lively to, the Blue Jays and to other teams that you played with where they obviously have fans, but it's not as electric as a Fenway Park or a Red Sox-Yankees rivalry?
It was very disheartening. It was bittersweet for me. I mean, we're going on a plane from Boston to Toronto to get to go play in May of 2003 to play the Blue Jays in a 3-game setup there. And then as we're taking off, Johnny Damon comes in my seat and he says, "Hey, dude, we just traded you to Arizona." I'm like, "What?" And it was just like, I'm telling you, like, it was like a divorce. Like, I didn't want to play anymore. I came to Arizona and I was doing really good. I had great momentum, had a great all-star year the year before. It started off to a great start in 2003. And it's just like, I went to high school here in Arizona. I went to junior college here. I'm a hometown guy. And it's just like, wasn't like it, ninth inning, 42,000 fans in the stands in Arizona. And there's nothing like our closers in the game and getting ready to close out the game. If that's Fenway, man, like, it's just like, it's like rock star. Like, we're winning. So I'm like, in between pitches, there's nothing going on. In between pitches at third base in the ninth inning with 42,000 fans in the stands because they just won the World Series here. I had my hands on my knees, and all of a sudden I hear in between pitches this big roar. And the crowd, like, and whenever you hear that in New York or Boston, somebody just came on the field. Like, there's a fan streaking on the field. So I'm looking around like, I hope no one comes up to me because I'm going to knock his ass out. And then all of a sudden I don't see anybody. And then I look up, and then the Baxter, the mascot's doing backflips in the stands, and they're cheering for that. And I was like, what the heck is this, man? And then whenever we played San Francisco, they'd say, Barry Bonds, Barry Bonds. And all I could think of is 1918, 1918. Like, everything stemmed off of Boston. And I think the toughest part of my career was when I played for Toronto and I came back and played in Fenway against the Red Sox. And my first at bat, the whole stadium just booed me. And that just like was a huge dagger in my heart. They had every right to do it, but they didn't understand my love and admiration and my fortitude for Boston because they just saw the actions that I did. So those are tough, like this. We know how to navigate it. We learn how to navigate this stuff, but it affects us. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't even imagine that. And it's Red Sox fans will definitely, be very happy hearing you, express these mental struggles so openly. And I feel like after listening to this, a lot of people will get a much better understanding of where you were at back then, and also where you are now, especially accepting it. But looking at now, like looking back on it, especially what happened, on the radio, you talking about Theo Epstein, like looking back at it now, like what's your thoughts on it now?
It's comical. I look at it and I'm like, this is going to be a great movie that's going to be released in the theaters, and people are going to just be like blown away. And I mean, the stuff that I did, I have a vision of shooting a movie, a documentary of my life, because it's very interesting. But I know for a fact they're not going to have to fabricate anything for my story or my movie because they're going to probably have to take stuff out. So to put fans in context so they hear it from me with that experience with Theo Epstein is the guest DJ of that radio station. He's a former Boston Bruins hockey player, and he was he was having challenges with alcoholism. And a lot of times when he was on the show, I had this, hints that he was drinking. So here I am in a bad spot with my internal fortitude of who I am. I hate myself. I hate the world. I hate my wife. I hate everything. And I had more fans that would come up to me during games and like, dude, I follow you on the radio show, dude. I was on an alternative radio station and once a week and it's 8 a.m. And if I'm on the West Coast, it's like 5 a.m. I'm like, dude, like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this. But it is what it is. So at that time of what happened on the instance on the radio is to put context to things so people understand, Bobby Valentin was the manager of the Mets. And they were talking about that on that episode. And Bobby Valentin at that time was kind of like questioning Mike Piazza's sexuality. And we'll just leave it at that. And the guest DJ just kept prodding me and kept pushing me and kept saying stuff. And I'd cuss on the radio and they're like, you can't cuss. And I'm like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, I really didn't, it's just sad. I was in it was a ridiculous spot. So it happened to be like at the time when they're talking about trading me and, I just had a great game the night before and I just come out to answer. And like, I'm talking to the guest DJ and he's like talking about, well, we're going to trade you now. And then I said, well, trade me now, FAGGOT. And after that came out of my mouth, it was like, okay, that's not good. So people from the radio station call the Boston Globe, and it's on the front page of the Boston Globe the next day. And Shea Hillenbrand calls Theo Epstein this. And that's like the demise of my career. But that's just one instant. You know what I mean? Of just things that I did that people knew about. There's a lot of things that I did that, that people didn't know about. And at the end of the day, with regards to what people's opinion or whatever, they're entitled to that. And I would probably have an opinion on that too, and it probably wouldn't be a good one. But what we don't realize is that each and every night, I had to put my head on the pillow just like you guys did. And I had a very difficult time doing that because as much as everybody beat me up, as much as everybody talked about me, he's too old to be a rookie. He can't field a ground ball. He never swings at strikes. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. I would lay in bed at night and I would beat myself up 100 times worse. Just going over and over. You suck. You can't do this. Whatever. That negative thought. See, a negative thought is 10 times more powerful than a positive thought. And the crazy part is that what I learned through the process of manifestation, of making things come to reality, is that if you say a negative thought, if a negative thing comes out of your mouth, it's 4 to 7 times that. So to get you guys to understand that, if I say I suck or screw Theo or any of that stuff, forget Boston or I can't believe this guy, it's 40 to 70% more powerful than Big Papi's smile. See, when you say something negative out loud, it's just going to beat yourself up. And if there's anything I can share with your listeners right now is just don't say stupid stuff, right? So there's four things that we're in control of. See, the first thing that we're in control of is what we watch on TV when we get home at night or what we watch on our phone. You're in control of what you watch. See, if you just watch 3 minutes of the news in the morning, you have a 27% greater chance of having a crappy day. See, that's what so many people don't realize. Like, we're not in guard of what we can control. And Shea Hillenbrand wasn't on guard of what he can control because I didn't know this stuff, because I didn't trust anybody, because ultimately I didn't trust myself. Because look what I just did on the radio to Theo. Is that's not even me. That's just like me lashing out in fear and pain and regret and resentment and all this stuff. Because I just say what so many other people thought, but I had so much pain inside myself driving what I did to where it's just like I didn't really care because I didn't care about myself. So the second thing that we have control of, guys, is what you listen to in the car when you get in the car. Like, what music we listen to? Are we listening to WEEI, right? Are we listening to sports talk radio and just bashing and talking negativity? Because that's going into your identity and what you believe to be true about you. Like, I used to listen to Eminem, Marshall Mathers when I played in the big leagues. Like, that's the last thing I should have listened to, because if anybody doesn't know who Marshall Mathers is, Eminem, he's an angry rapper. And it's just like, I would just like, yes, that resonating, yes. And it's ingraining that negative crap that was rambling around and put me in a position not to be able to achieve what I was capable of achieving. The third thing is who speaks into your life? Who do we talk to on the phone? Who do you allow speak into your life? I love my mom dearly. I cut my parents out of my whole career. I have to live with that because of my relationship with my father. I could have bought my parents anything and everything ever. I did that, and I have to live with that. So I moved. My father passed away 4 years ago. God bless his soul. We reconnected, got everything cleared up. And I moved my mom down next to me to take care of her because I'm the only one here. And then I'm on the phone with her every night. After I get off this, I'm calling my mom and talking to her. And she has a tendency to be negative. Right? So if I just listen to my mom and with her, I have to be on guard of my mind when I talk to my mom because she could speak into my life that negativity and re-ingrain that old character in my story, Shea Hillenbrand, because he is still there. I just have him at bay and understand how to navigate and make that person better now.
We hope you guys are enjoying our conversation so far with Shea Hillenbrand, but Lauren just wants to take a second to talk to you about Built Bar.
You know me by now. You know how much I love Built Bar. And we are in the new year, so that means you have New Year's resolutions probably. And if yours is about getting fit, maybe eating a little bit healthier, make sure you include Built Bar in your plan. Built Bar is the protein bar that tastes just like a candy bar, and honestly, maybe even better than one. Built Bar makes it easy to stick to your resolution because they taste so good, you will want to eat it. It's not like those other protein bars that can be chalky, waxy, maybe taste kind of like a cardboard. Not Built Bar. And I understand that you want to eat healthy, but it can get so boring. By like week 3, I'm thinking, this just is not worth it. Where's the chocolate? Enter Built Bar, which are covered in 100% real chocolate. And here's an idea for the new year, and I've started to do this. Head on over to all of your secret treat stashes at home, in the pantry. Maybe you have a snack drawer at your desk in your office, wherever. Throw out all the sugary stuff and replace them with Built Bars. So when you're craving a snack or a little treat, you could reach for something that's healthy and tastes incredible. And there's so many flavors to choose from. There's literally something for everyone. Coconut almond, peanut butter brownie, my personal favorite, cookies and cream. Check out built.com often to see what's new because they always have limited time flavors. And we have an offer for you. Head on over to built.com, enter promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. That's LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com.
And the last thing is, you're in control of, make sure you guys are listening. For me, of all people, you're in control of what comes out of your mouth. You're in control of that. And what you say, you can't take back. I can't take that back. What I said to Theo Epstein on the radio. I can't take that back. The interaction when I got in a fight with the manager, John Gibbons, in the clubhouse. I can't take that back when I was walking down the street as a Red Sox player in Toronto and I'm on the phone with my mom and I have my wife and I have a Toronto Blue Jays fan following me for 4 blocks with his autograph cards. And he finally musters up enough nerve to go, Mr. Hillenbrand, could you please sign my autograph? I can't take that back when I turned around and said, are you kidding me, dude? You're so effing rude, man. Don't you know I'm on the phone? Geez, get the hell out of here. I can't take that back. So you can't say stupid stuff, guys. We got to understand how to tame that tongue and understand how we control what's coming into who we are. And once I took control of that, I really took my game to the next level. See, like I said before, whenever I took a picture with a fan, I've always wanted to smile. And I never knew what they were going through. But I know what it feels like. What a lot of people are going through. Because when I was on top of the world with tens of millions of dollars and flying private jets and multiple mansions and 6 automobiles and 300 pairs of shoes and anything and everything I ever wanted, the one thing I didn't have is fulfillment. I didn't know who I was and I didn't have control of my life. So I understand that to the T. So I'm on the mission now to discover through this process is that I didn't have my smile. I didn't know what it was. See, when I was away from the fans and when I was away from the interactions, I struggled. And then when I met my wife at my zoo that I owned, there's one thing that I realized through her, that I remember from her, is her smile. That's it. but I didn't know at the time. And then once we started dating, once we got married, and I was able to muster up enough courage to let her look into my eyes because I couldn't let anybody look into my eyes. So what my wife told me when I looked into her eyes, when she looked into my soul, is that she told me that I smiled with my eyes. See, my whole life, regardless of what I did, because I accomplished both my childhood dreams. I was that kid in 5th grade that Mr. Murphy called around in the class and he says, what do you guys want to do when you grow up? And I'm vigorously in the back of the room raising my hand. I said, pick me. And he's like, what do you want to do, Shea? And I said, I'm going to play Major League Baseball and I'm going to own a zoo. And all my classmates laughed at me. And Mr. Murphy's like, all right. And I'm like, fool, watch. I'm going to do it. See, with everything that I ever accomplished, I didn't have my smile. And then what I did through this process of discovering and doing this self-work and discover, like, do the things that I needed to do because I knew there was something greater inside myself that was what I was living, I discovered my smile. And when you have your smile, all you have to do is just walk through the door because people see it. Your soul lights up. You just radiate, and now you could be the light in the room that you walk into. And there's no greater feeling in the world. And I've had them all.
You are providing so much amazing insight about mental health and just, your struggles and your life in general. And one thing that you just recently just said was be careful what you say. And especially now in this day and age with social media, it's on the internet forever. Even if it's deleted, their screenshots, people are so quick to screenshot everything. They are so quick to use anything against you. And it's just the same thing, just control. Don't speak out of anger because like you said, you can't take it back. Even if you delete the tweet, you delete your angry rant on Facebook or whatever, it's still there. And just type it in your notes app and don't send it to anybody if you need to get it out. But once it's on the internet, like you said, it's so hard to take it back. And then people will always use that against you, even though that's what you said. That's not who you are.
100%. And I'm thinking as you're saying it, I'm like, oh man, I'm so glad I didn't play during the social media age. or it might have been good because I probably could have played off that character to make a brand and all that stuff, the Hillenbrand, right? So yeah, it's just it is what it is. I have 5 kids now, and 3 of them are teenagers, and I'm dealing with that with them. But I don't know anything, right? So
nope.
as a dad, it's like gotta help my son with hitting and. Nope, I won't listen to you. I'm like, okay, go out there. Have fun, dude, because it's not fun if you don't know what you're doing. Just trying to give you the advantage. But, yeah, that's it. It all comes down to it's this simple formula right here, guys. Your identity and your values drive your behavior. See, what I did when I came to spring training in 2001, I was hoping to be a catcher for the AAA squad in Pawtucket. That was my shot because I just coming from AA. And when I showed up, I did 5 things. The first thing is I behaved like a big leaguer. I'm just going to put my head down and work. And then I was very aware of what I put in my mind. I was very aware of how I worked on my health. I only competed against myself. I learned and understood how to navigate, create resilience, because if you want to learn how to navigate failure, talk to a Major League Baseball player. In 2004, I hit 310 for the D-backs, had 580 plate appearances. If you do that math, I failed 400 times. So it's just like failure after failure after failure. Then the fourth thing I did when I got to big league camp was I just competed against myself. And then from there, what I did is I kept myself accountable. I didn't wait for the coach. I didn't wait for anybody else. I knew what I did right. I knew what I did wrong. I had to kick myself in the butt when I didn't keep the promises to myself. And then I make my way through, like halfway through spring, I'm walking in the clubhouse with Jason Varitek, and we're catching bullpens. He's like, keep screwing around, dude. You're going to make this team. I was like, dude, don't be punking me, fool. Like I always said what I thought, right? I said, don't be messing around with me, man, because that's my dream. So I get all the way to the last day of spring training, and we're playing in St. Pete against Tampa in spring training. And the bench coach, I'm starting the game. The bench coach comes up to me and he says, hey, Skipper wants to see you. I was like, sweet. I made it all the way through the last day of spring training. I did way better than I thought I'd do. I'm going to go down to AAA. I'm going to get to know my pitching staff, and I'm going to go out there and rock it, maybe give myself a chance to come to the big leagues next year. I walk into Jimmy Williams' office, and I said, hey, Skipper, he said you wanted to see me. And he reached out his hand to me, and he says, congratulations, you made this team. I was like, what? What? Really? Like, I thought Ashton Kutcher was going to pop out. Like I was getting pumped. I'm like, how's this? Thank you very much. Like $125 million payroll, like all these guys. So we leave Fort Myers and go to the first preseason game in Houston. I go to put my key in the door of the hotel room. Mind you, I've never stayed at anything other than a Motel 6, and I have a doorbell on my hotel room. I'm like, what is this? I open up my door. My hotel room is so vast in the Ritz-Carlton that I was on the other side of the room and you knocked the door, I couldn't hear you. So I proceed to jump up on top of the bed, and I'm like Macaulay Culkin. I'm like, I made the big league. Like, yeah, double-A, yeah. So I go to the ballpark early the next day, 4 hours before we're supposed to be there. The only people that are there are the trainers, pitchers, and rehabbers. I walk to that front door, and I'm like, I'm going to see my number, because when you're a minor leaguer coming to big league camp, you always have a high number to distinguish minor leaguers from big leaguers. That's how it was when I played. I was number 71 in spring training. I'm like, I just want a low number, and I want to put on a big league uniform, because in spring training, they have a custom tailorer come in and take all your measurements like you have a custom-made suit. And we never have that in the minor leagues. It's just like, here's your stuff. Here it is, like city league uniforms. I go in the clubhouse, and the clubhouse manager in Tampa comes up, and he says, "Hi, Mr. Hillenbrand. Congratulations. Welcome to the big leagues. Let me take you over." And I'm like, this is insane, man. I go into the clubhouse, and I see my locker, and it says number 29, Shea Hillenbrand. I'm like, holy cow, there's Nomar Garciaparra, there's Pedro Martinez, there's Trot Nixon, there's all these, Troy O'Leary, and like, it's just like, I can't, what? And then I throw on my uniform real quick, and I'm sitting there at my locker 4 hours before. I'm like, yeah, and it feels like pajamas. I'm like just chilling, like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. And that same damn bench coach came over to me and said, "Skipper needs to see you." My stomach instantly dropped. It like went into my throat, and I'm like, damn it, dude. They didn't even give me a chance to get one at bat in the big leagues. They're already sitting me down. This is ridiculous. They shouldn't be messing with me. They should have sit me down from spring training. Why are they doing this now? When we get to Houston, I'm going to be on like all this stuff. And I make that dreadful walk to Jimmy Williams' office. And I said, "Skipper, he said you wanted to see me?" And he says, "Yeah, sit down, son." And he's like, "I've been thinking about this a lot, and you're going to be my starting third baseman on opening day." And I jumped up real quick and reached across the desk, and I said, "Thank you very much." And I just left the room so he couldn't change his mind. I was like, are you serious right now? I don't even know how to play third base. I haven't played third base in 3 years. I don't even know the bunt signs. I'm going to call timeout and tell no more, like, hey, the bunt sign, and then tell Pedro to come over to like, seriously? But I did it. And I just put my head down, and I acted like a big leaguer. So if anybody's in a spot right now where they feel stuck, they want to get out of being unstuck, just start behaving of how you think you should be, because the number one tool we have is visualization. Visualization is the number one tool. I'd sit at the top deck in Dodger Stadium, and I'd look down there as a kid on the third deck, and I'd say, I'm going to be down there someday. And I engage my senses. I'd hear the crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, smell the grass. And I always imagine now batting number 29, Shea Hillenbrand, from 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old. Then I go home at night and I lay in bed, imagine like being on ESPN with my name on the bottom of the ticker and cashing $1 million paychecks. This stuff works, but you have to behave regardless of how you feel, because your behavior will lead your feelings, your emotions, your talent, and your ability. And I was a prime example of that. I was a 2-time all-star third baseman in the big leagues. I have no clue how to field a ground ball. I don't know how to field a ground ball, but I know how to work. And I believed and I behaved like I belonged there. And my actions followed how I behaved. So many of us get stuck. We don't know our identity because it's all wrapped up in the story that we're telling ourselves. We don't even know our values. And if you understand those two, and you understand how to line up your behavior, you gain momentum, because life's about momentum. When you get momentum, you will get rewarded. Then when you understand how to leverage your language, how you talk to yourself, then you start believing in yourself, and you start tapping into a whole different version of yourself. And maybe one day you'll be in the major leagues and become a 2-time MLB All-Star. Maybe not in baseball, but in what you do.
We hope you guys are enjoying our conversation so far with Shea Hillenbrand, but I just want to take a second to talk to you about BetOnline. There might be less football being played, but BetOnline.net has way more stuff to be bet on this playoff season. From scored, totals, player performance props, to where the next fired coach is going to land, BetOnline is the number one spot for all things NFL betting in 2022. It's not just football. BetOnline.net's basketball, hockey, boxing, and UFC odds coverage is the best in the business. From sports right down to your favorite Vegas casino games, BetOnline is your #1 online wagering destination. BetOnline, the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports and play your favorite games. BetOnline, where the game starts. I love it, man. I didn't know that story, obviously, about right. I can't even imagine your mindset, like you described, walking into the manager's office, like thinking, "Oh my God, I'm already getting sent down. Are you kidding me right now?" But especially with what you're doing now, tell the listeners what you're doing now, because it's exactly what you're talking about. I think a lot of people, came on this episode wanting to hear from Shea Hillenbrand, the baseball player, the former Red Sox player. But I feel like after listening to this episode, they're going to be fired up, really inspired, and want to hear more from you. And especially with what you do with MLB Mindset, I think it's so valuable, not only for people who want to play baseball, but just for human beings trying to learn more about yourself, build up your mindset, and like you mentioned, eliminate those self-doubts in what you make up in your mind.
And find your smile. Once you
Exactly.
find your smile, guys, that's the greatest gift you could ever give yourself, because with your smile comes along fulfillment and peace and understanding and a different place of where you operate from. And you start operating and tapping into such a higher version of yourself that's insane. I never thought in my wildest dreams that I would ever do this, ever. I didn't have a voice when I played, guys. So in the prime of my career, when I'm on top of the world with anything and everything I ever wanted, I didn't have the fulfillment. I didn't have understanding of who I was, and I didn't have control of my life. So I make the decision, proven to be the biggest decision of my life. I quit because that pain from the perspective I formed at 14 years old with an experience with my father, I'm not lovable, I'm not good enough, my dad doesn't love me, formed that perspective that ultimately broke me, because I was walking around with so much pain inside myself, fueling that pain-driven game, that I became numb to everything and anything around me. So I just left. I left $50 million of potential earnings on the table. I didn't care. I couldn't handle it anymore. I couldn't even function. And I concoct this great idea to go pursue my second top childhood dream of owning a zoo. Like, who does that? Major League Baseball to buying a zoo. This guy right here. I bought a $5 million horse farm, and I accumulate over 300 farm and exotic animals. I have camels, kangaroos, llamas, alpacas, monkeys, raccoons, 2 800-pound Wilshire pigs called Taco Bell and Gilbert. I had a blind horse with a seeing-eye pony. I had a 3-legged goat. I had anything and everything. I had a vision. See, we've all been given a vision, guys, but life's kicked us in the butt to where we don't think we could do it because of those self-limiting beliefs, because of that BS rambling around in our mind. So I had a vision of taking these animals and rehabilitating them with unconditional love. And I bring them into my environment of where I was, and I just help these animals, whether they're sheep or goats or horses or pigs or dogs. And I rescued and adopted over 1,000 dogs. And I said, I'm going to put them in a petting zoo environment and interact with inner city child crisis and disabled children. And I had a train that went around with a special caboose so the kids can wheel their wheelchair up on the back of the caboose, so they didn't have to get out of their wheelchair and feel like they were less than because they couldn't function out of it. And just like, I had it all. And I'm like, man, the joy I was receiving, witnessing my animals transform thousands of children's lives in my community. Yes, that's same Shea Hillenbrand that did all that stuff in Major League Baseball also did this. And what I realized with that process through my nonprofit foundation, these children's lives are being changed. Like, you could have the Mariano home run. You could have the World Series. This is the World Series right here. What's happening at the zoo was asinine. It superseded anything and everything I ever did on a Major League Baseball field. I'm bound to get fulfillment now. I'm bound to get it. This has to do it. Major League Baseball didn't do it. The fame, the glory, the money, the status, the success, and everything on a Major League, like, that didn't do it. This has to do it right here, but it didn't. You see, I found myself at 3 o'clock in the morning on the floor of a van, parked outside my ex-wife's house with my children an arm's distance away. And after overdosing on drugs and alcohol, just to try to run, numb, and flee from that pain that I was feeling, from that perspective I formed, from that story, from that experience at 14 years old, this is what's relevant to everybody listening right now. We all have formed stories from our childhood and our adolescence, and that's driving our belief system of who we believe to be true about ourselves. And I'm lying there motionless on the floor of this van 8 years ago. after overdosing on drugs and alcohol. And as the soul's leaving the top of my head and I'm clinging on to my last breath, the thoughts going through my mind are, you're a failure, Shea. You're a loser, Shea. They're going in overtime now. All that negative talking, all that negative thinking. What would your parents think if you left this world today? What kind of dad would do this to your kids, Shea? Are you serious? And my answer to that was, I don't know. I'm nothing if I don't have baseball. I'm so tired of fighting that pain-driven game, so I just let go by myself. Nobody around. Just me and myself. I don't know if I died, if I fell asleep. You see, my name had become the game. Shea Hillenbrand that played for the Boston Red Sox. My identity. But by the grace of God, I woke up the next day. I didn't have any side effects. The sun came through the front windshield of my van and it woke me up. I was living in a van 8 years ago. So if you guys want to talk shit about me, that's what you could do right there. I lived in a van 8 years ago. After making $20 million cracking home runs in Fenway Park, I was scrounging up change out of my cup holder of my van just to feed my kids Little Caesars pizza as they're going to school, telling all their friends and teachers that my dad played for the Arizona Diamondbacks because that's where we live. And I had two big decisions I had to make because I've done anything and everything I could just to run them and flee from that pain. And I couldn't hide behind the veil of Major League Baseball player anymore. It was gone. Because I lost it because my behavior didn't align with what needed to be done to have success at that level. It all acts with your behavior. I had to take back control of my life and I had to own who I was. I didn't have to own it at Fenway. I didn't have to own it in Boston. I could do whatever I wanted to do and fans would still love me even though I was an asshole. And it sucks because you're lost in this island of nothingness and people allow it to be accepted. So I started creating momentum. I had to get into momentum right away. I had to get into momentum. I had to get into momentum right away. So if you're in a spot right now where you're stuck, if you're in a spot right now where you're like one breath away from just giving up, like I'm just done, I can't do this, whether it's COVID, whether it's getting laid off or furloughed or a relationship or I'm tired of being stuck at home, just understand that you got to get into momentum right away. When I got into momentum, I got rewarded. People came into my life to provide me direction and accountability. And over the next 7 years, I just dug deeper and created momentum. I said, I got to figure this shit out because once I figure this out for me, I know I could use my voice to impact and save other people's lives. There's no greater feeling in the world to be able to make that impact and add value to people that are hopeless. See, if you need to latch onto my faith right now and my belief, do that. I'm here for you. And once I created momentum in my life, because life is about momentum, what I realized next is like, I got to start understanding how I'm talking to myself. I have to leverage the language. This process, I discovered these three powerful principles of momentum, language, and belief. They're like third grade level stuff. It's super simple. But these principles are irrefutable laws of life. We can sit here and discuss and debate Red Sox, Hall of Fame, religion, politics, COVID, but you can't debate these three powerful principles: momentum, language, and belief. Then once I gained momentum, once I had wins in my life and discovered a new identity outside of Shea Hillenbrand, the baseball player, but Shea Hillenbrand, the person, I had to stand on guard. I had to look in the mirror and say, what are these conversations you're having with yourself? And they were negative. And we discussed that about negative thoughts and positive thoughts and talking. That was really negative. And once I understood how to leverage my language and start understanding how to communicate to myself in a better way by putting the good in, the positive in my ears, and understanding that the most important conversation that you'll ever have in your life is the conversation you have with yourself. Not with God, not with your spouse, not with your parents, not with your boss, not with your friends, not with your partner, anything. It's the conversation you have with yourself. And once we understand that, I shifted into the B, which is belief. See, there's one thing that every major leaguer has in common, whether they're a bench player that plays once a week, Doug Mirabelli, or they're a franchise player the franchise player that's whatever, making $400 million, is that we know that if given the chance or the opportunity, that we're going to come through because we believe we could do it. See, I believed in a performer as a baseball player, but I didn't believe in myself as a person. So I had to start getting credibility and keeping the promises to myself. And when I did that, my self-esteem went up. I started getting this understanding and taking my belief system and identifying belief blockers and then installing a new elevated belief system with my identity of who I was. I just scaled the levels that took me to where I am right now. I can give a crap what anybody says about me. I own it. I was a dick. I was not a good teammate. I did bad things. Yes, I did that. But I'm here to say that Shea Hillenbrand, that was that character in my story, morphed and transformed, and I designed this Shea Hillenbrand now that's using my voice to go out there and impact the world. So that's what I'm doing with the MLB mindset. I'm teaching people how to get out of their own way, get unstuck, scale to new heights, and become unstoppable. And that's where I feel I am right now. I'm telling you guys, my life is complete. I found it. I found the thing that I was searching for every night on that field at Fenway Park under the lights on ESPN. I found it, the fulfillment, the bliss, being excited when I wake up, understanding being a better husband, being a great father, and being a good ambassador for other people that are in that spot that need that help. Just to let you know, they call me the defibrillator. Papa, on the paramedic, on the ambulance. I'll wake your ass up. Let's go.
Where can people support you on that? Because
MLBmindset.com. Just hit me up there. MLBmindset.com. It's super simple. Hit me up there. You'll see what I do. And if it resonates with you, maybe we could just, I don't know, whatever you need. And on social media, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And then also your videos that you post on Instagram as well. Like also like the lives too are just so powerful as well. So where can people check those out too?
Shea_Hillenbrand on IG, and then Shea Hillenbrand on Facebook and LinkedIn. Awesome. I don't do Twitter. I don't even want to do social media. I know you got to do it, but that's where I'm doing stuff and putting YouTube videos out there and just sharing my experience, sharing my perspective, and telling people if this Shea Hillenbrand can do it, you guys can do it too. And there's nothing else I want to do. I want to speak. I want to coach. I want to teach. I speak all over the country. I'm on a mission, man. Like I'm in the batting cage right now in center field at Fenway Park. I'm from 5 a.m. till midnight every single day. I am just mastering the craft because we got to understand this, guys, is that skill sets have utility. So gain those skill sets of whatever you're trying to achieve. Oh, how do I find my passion? How do I find my purposes? Just find something that you're interested in and just stay at it and try to master those skill sets. And if you stir up that hunger is going to turn into passion. And once you master those skill sets and put yourself in a position that you got to just be so good that they can't ignore you. That's how I got to the top to play with the Red Sox. You can't even say, like, there's no way I should have made it. Like, if you see my path to the minor leagues and what I went through, like, I just said, I got to be so good that they can't ignore me. And they couldn't ignore me. How do you do that? You have to master the skill sets. You have to show up every day. Just do something a little bit every single day. Don't allow yourself to stop. See, what's different for me and then the other person that didn't make it, because I talked to big leaguers like, I wish I would have done what you did, or minor leaguers or guys that I play with that didn't make it. The only thing that I did is when it became monotonous and boring, and then when I started suffering, I just kept going. And that's what separates people that have success and go to that next level and become unstoppable than the people that allow themselves to have those limited beliefs and that BS rambling around in their mind, that I call it, they can find themselves inside their internal zoo. They're shackled to the status quo and they become complacent and mediocre and say, you know what? My life just wasn't supposed to be that way like I thought it. It's just going to be this way. Bull crap, man. I'm 46 years old, man, and I just designed this life within the last 2 years when I could have had anything and every reason to give up. I lost everything. And I just designed this and I just kept at it and I just kept moving a little bit every day. And if you just apply those principles that I share with you in this podcast, you're setting yourself up to go out there and start designing and taking back control and doing what you want to do. There's no greater feeling in the world.
I love it, man. I think all the listeners are going to love it as well. And really appreciate all the insight, all the stories, and all the time that you've given today. Seriously, it's been awesome.
My pleasure, man. I'm super honored. And I love Red Sox Nation. I just want to do a tour in Boston. I want to do a tour in New England. I just want to go out there and just pour into people out there. I don't even want to go anywhere else. So maybe that will happen sometime in the near future. I'll come out and we can do stuff out there.
Definitely let us know if you come out and let's catch a Sox game.
Oh, boy, that'd be great. As long as we can video it.
Yeah, hell yeah, absolutely.
You suck! So,
love it.
Nice meeting you guys. Nice seeing you guys. And I look forward to what happens in the future. Anything I can do for you guys, let me know.
Thank you.
Man. I hope you guys did enjoy part 2 of our conversation with Shea Hillenbrand. And we just want to thank you so much for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen every single day. Now make your second listen Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q, with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. It's available and free on all platforms. And another thing that's free is following Locked On Red Sox on Twitter. That's LO_Red Sox. We greatly appreciate it because we post daily Red Sox content and we try to get you guys involved in every single episode through our Twitter account. And also follow my Twitter. It's at Jake Iggy, as well as my co-host Lauren Campbell. That's at La. That's 3 laws. Lauren with 4 R's. Now also make sure to tune in next week on Locked On Red Sox because we have another jam-packed week filled with some exciting guests. Now, I'll give you a little bit of a sneak peek. Our next episode is going to be an interview with 2021 Red Sox draft pick Nico Cavadas. You definitely don't want to miss that one. And we greatly appreciate all the support throughout this offseason and throughout the first month of 2022. Our goal is to make 2022 an amazing year for all Red Sox fans. And like I said before, to make this podcast the most fan-engaging Red Sox podcast that there is out there. And we can't do that without your guys' support. So we hope that everybody has an amazing rest of their day. And we'll see you guys and talk to you guys next time. Peace.